Having listened to my stream this morning with Lionel Chan, I've noticed that my audio wasn't too good. I don't know what it is, but I hope the problem is fixed now. While I'm streaming, I could say a few other thoughts that have occurred to me. I'm very grateful to him for appearing on my channel and being so civil and respectable and unusual. So it is a bit annoying that my audio was not that good, but I think you can hear him quite well. It's just me that you can't hear without some distortion, but I think most of you already know what I'm going to say about most things, and I think I am actually audible, even though the sound is a little distorted. So my further thoughts today are the difficulty of getting people to follow logical arguments. So I guess unless people are rewarded for making sound arguments, nobody will. They'll just be looking around and respecting only money and power. And this is what the problem is, really. And I don't know how else I can say something that is so very simple, which so many people are so very invested in pretending not to understand. Oh, thank you, Howard, for saying it was okay and you could hear it okay. I don't know if you want to join me. I will give you the link anyway. It's been ages since we've spoken. Years, maybe. So when I meet somebody quite unusual, I sort of have to rethink everything in the sense that one has to kind of rebase everything and see if things work. From what I can remember about the conversation, which I haven't finished time stamping yet, there was a slight contradiction in what he was saying, because first he was saying we shouldn't lie, and then he went on to say that Chinese people lie. I mean, everybody lies because we, we're even encouraged by our parents to tell the occasional white lie, to, not cause conflict, to not offer our opinions when they are not ours, certainly not our advice. So after being around for a few years, most of us have amassed enough social skills to know when to not say things that we know will not be welcomed. We have heard the expression of shooting the messenger. It has got me thinking about China and its long civilization. After finishing speaking to Lionel, I was on X and listened to an X space of Chinese people. And what I thought was interesting about it is that it was all in Mandarin, and then a few English-speaking people came up and asked, I guess, fairly basic questions about China, but they showed great interest. And then one question came up after another, and then the Chinese people disagreed with each other about the assessment of Chinese history and the current situation. And, basically people disagree with each other. And obviously there has to be a mechanism for resolving our disputes. And, it is through hierarchy that it can be done. So anyone who has any understanding of our legal system will know that, you begin legal action in the lower courts. And if you're not satisfied with the result and you have a deep pocket, you can keep appealing and appealing and appealing until you get to your Supreme Court. And hopefully by then, after shelling out so much in legal fees, you might just get the decision you want. Some of you, even in America, might have heard of Lucy Connolly. I suppose I haven't really paid that much attention to it, but today we discovered that somebody called, I think it was Ricky Adams or somebody like that, he had been found not guilty of inciting racial hatred through some social media post or something. And we know Lucy Connolly is now in prison for having posted a tweet to the effect that she didn't care if the migrant hotels all burned down. And she deleted the tweet. But it was news to me that she actually pleaded guilty in the lower court. So they sentenced her. I mean, however unjust you think her sentence is, the point is that she pleaded guilty, right? She pleaded guilty to inciting racial hatred. You can't get out of that now. She can say, "Oh, but my lousy, stupid solicitor told me to, in order to avoid a more severe sentence," because there is a kind of implicit plea bargaining in an either-or offence. So you can be accused of a crime that can be settled at the lower court of the magistrate's court, from which there is no appeal. But usually there is no what do I mean by that? So you can't appeal the magistrate's court because it's a you've already agreed that you're not going to appeal it, and therefore even if you are found guilty or pleaded guilty, you're going to get a lower sentence than if you said, "No, I'm not guilty, I'm going to the Crown Court." And if you are found guilty by the Crown Court, you get a higher, more severe sentence. So people basically make a kind of decision about whether they want to take the risk or not. So Lucy Connolly thought it was kind of 50-50, right? Her solicitor also thought it was 50-50. So she thought, if I plead guilty, they might just fine me or give me a lighter sentence, and then I'll be off. So I'll plead guilty, because a lot of unprincipled people, they do that, and then they find themselves in prison. So they do that thinking they're going to get a lighter sentence. But once you've pleaded guilty, the only thing left for you to argue about is the severity of the sentence. And and now she's stuck in a position of, well, even if I appeal and even if I get what I want, by the time the appeal to the Supreme Court is heard, my sentence will be over and I'll be out of prison. So I better shut up and not say anything. It's that kind of idea. I mean, she can't just sort of say, well, I wasn't guilty because, well, I mean, she actually pleaded guilty to it. And this is the most extraordinary thing. So, my advice is, don't accept the plea bargain. have some convictions, for God's sakes. Because what do you expect the court to do? Like, even when you pleaded guilty, you didn't really mean it, and therefore you shouldn't be sentenced. I mean, what the hell? I just don't know what to do with people that they're so unprincipled that they will plead guilty to something they didn't, that they feel they weren't guilty of. So I was offered the option of accepting a caution. And a caution is basically saying you plead guilty to whatever it was that you were accused of, and nothing will happen to you, and you'll be allowed to go about your business. But it will be on your record that you were guilty of, I don't know, theft or whatever it was, or inciting racial hatred. So that is how they frighten you. But don't think it's only stupid, uneducated people who do that. So I know for a fact that Maurice Archie, who was the husband of Nigella Lawson, some of you may remember that some years ago, he and his wife were sitting outside a Mayfair restaurant on a pavement table, and he was, I don't know, he was demonstrating something to her, and he put his hand on her throat, and it wasn't a big deal, except that the paparazzi happened to take a picture of him doing that, and obviously it looked bad, if you just concentrate on the moment. But Nigella wasn't that upset, and neighbours said later in the day, in the evening, they were seen going out for a walk holding hands. So, it wasn't even Nigella was too afraid to make a scene in public, and she, held back until she got home and blah, blah. So obviously, as far as the couple were concerned, she wasn't bothered about it. But anyway, the media made a big deal about it, and then it ended up in Maurice Sarti being arrested and taken to the police station and being interrogated, and he was invited to accept a caution. And I thought, and he accepted it. And so he basically didn't even ask his lawyer, which I'm sure would have advised him differently, or maybe he did consult his lawyer, and the lawyer said go ahead and accept it. So I suppose people who do that think, well, if I accept it, then the matter will end and people will just stop talking about it, and I can forget about the story. And if I don't forget about it, so if I don't accept the caution and basically put my hands up to it, it will go to trial, and it'll be even worse and more embarrassing and more, rumors and blah, blah. And I'm saying, just have the strength of your convictions to not plead guilty if you're not guilty. Instead of thinking, well, if I plead guilty, nothing will happen to me. And anyway, obviously I didn't accept the caution. And I actually said I didn't need a solicitor because I'm legally trained, but the police just kept me waiting and waiting in the cop shop for, the whole day until a duty solicitor could be found to, basically kick me under the table when he thought I was saying a bit too much for comfort. And basically I didn't shut up, and I just carried on. And I guess my attitude showed to the police that I wasn't afraid of them, and was actually looking forward to my day in court. And I know they were trying to frighten me because they produced a lever arch file full of printouts from my blog, Voice of Reason, which you can have a look at. It's still there. And hopefully it remains a resource for people who are interested in my ideas, even though you'll find it very hard. Uh, well, the Google search results do not prioritize it, shall we say. So you won't be able to find it easily, and a lot of the articles are somehow, hidden or not ranked at all. But anyway, well, I know it's difficult. I know it's tempting to think, well, if I plead guilty, they'll leave me alone. They'll give me a fine and I can pay it and I can forget about it and get on with my life. But if I don't, then there'll be a Crown Court and there'll be a jury and I might get punished even more. So, I'm not saying I don't understand this at all, but somebody has to have some principle somewhere, or they'll, will just be mown like grass. And the more stupid and weak we show ourselves to be, the more it'll encourage the government to depend on our weakness and stupidity and our cowardice and our lack of backbone. So one of the things I was trying to say to Lionel Chan was that, I think I said it pretty clearly, and I said, men have to die for the principle of being men. And I suppose I can imagine a lot of men saying, she's only a woman. What does she know about dying for any principle? She can talk big, but it's us who have to do the dying. And my point is that you have to show that you are prepared to die for some principle. You have to do that, or people will think you are without principle, and so we're just going to carry on bribing or threatening you, and you will carry on bribing, accepting bribes and submitting to threats, and you will actually be encouraging and emboldening your enemies by not having principles. So, okay, who knows what might happen if, even if we say we're prepared to die for our principle, if we're threatened or tortured or bribed, we might accept it. But surely we know what the correct answer is, which is not to accept bribes, not to submit to threats, and to speak truth to power. And if we don't do that, then we do, in fact, embolden our enemies, who will be encouraged and will do more and more to dismay, distress, and destroy us. So I'm afraid it's up to you men to find whatever backbone you can manage to find, by defending your principles. So I know a lot of you are just atheists, but I would say even atheists would prefer to associate with atheists who are not compulsive liars, who believe in nonsense. So truth and logic are necessary for survival, even if you don't quite believe in God. Obviously, if atheists were certain of receiving justice in this life, then they will do the right thing. Now, of course, none of us are certain about receiving any kind of justice. So most people are risk averse, frightened, and not prepared to stick their necks out. And worse, they are treacherous to people who are prepared to stick their necks out and not terribly supportive of them. So, the solution is simple. Now, okay, men will ask, well, what's in it for them? And I'm saying, feeling that you are not a coward would be the benefit. Would be the benefit. You would get some kind of spiritual peace if you thought you were doing the right thing, even if you didn't believe in the afterlife, right? And obviously, if you did believe in the afterlife, you wouldn't be, anxious about, what might happen because you know that you were doing the right thing. And think about this, men. If there were a group of men who everybody around them knew had no principles, what do you think would happen to them? What do you think would happen to them? It would mean that men in neighboring societies who do have principles would just come and take their stuff. That's how it would work. So ultimately, men, because they have greater physical strength, they would be expected to do things like defend territory and women and children and that sort of thing because, well, just imagine the response from the enemy if men didn't do these things and instead sent their women to defend territory while they stayed at home and looked after the children. Wouldn't that encourage their enemies by who would be encouraged by the show of dementia, stupidity, and cowardice? So even if you are not disposed to want to die for anything, the correct answer must be, when asked if you have principles, as an atheist, you would have to say, as a man, that you are prepared to die for the principle of being a man, which means, well, I guess, the honor to defend your territory and your women and your children, if any, and that is your special role that women cannot hope to do themselves, because if they did try to do it, then the enemy would think that they are being stupid, that you are being stupid and weak and mad, and they will be encouraged all the more by your stupidity and weakness and dementia to come in greater numbers to take your women and your stuff. I hope this is reasonably clear. Because, okay, there is no escape. You can say, well, I'm going to desert then. I'm going to, as soon as the enemy comes, I'll just run away. I'll leave my, wife and my children to face the conquering soldiers. I will, I'll just leave them to it. But then, where would such a man go? He would go to a neighbouring country, I suppose, to seek asylum or seek a new life. And but people from that neighbouring country would probably have heard that such and such country has been conquered, and if you come from that country, you'd be asked, why are you here? Are you a deserter? Where are your children? What's happened to you? And sooner or later, you would be clocked as a deserter and a coward, and you would be treated in the way a deserter and a coward would expect to be treated. So, there isn't even any honor in doing that. So I've got somebody called Shlomo. I will add him to the stage. Hello? You going to say something?
Yes. Hello.
Hello. I As I was saying, whether men like it or not, they have to they have to say at least that they are prepared to die for their principles. And what is a principle you must be prepared to die for? As a man, you have to be prepared to die for the principle of being a man. And then, maybe then, you'll be honored for being a man. Women are not expected to die for any principle, so don't worry about that. It's a male privilege, as I was saying. Um, you may not like it, but that, I guess, is the truth of the matter. And if you're prepared to say that, just to say that, maybe, when it comes to the crunch, you may have other thoughts. But the fact is, you have to be prepared to take a certain position before you can think of defending it. So, get used to it, guys.